Hello,
Hello, everybody,
everybody, and
and welcome
welcome
back
back to
to the
the
McDonCast,
McDonCast, the
the
funnest
funnest podcast
podcast
in
in
town,
town. I think we're gonna
the
get.
only podcast
Oh, I forgot
around.
about it. I forget every time. And I know it's you think I'm doing it for a bit. Like I genuinely forget there's another part to the intro like every
I
single
don't
time we do
understand how
this.
you forget the intro every time. It's never changed. It's
I mean,
changed
it
like
has
twice
changed.
ever, and it's just
No,
like we've added those parts, but it hasn't changed in several years.
it's slightly different every time.
It's not. It's basically the same every
I
time.
don't think maybe we should just move to a pre-recorded intro and we could avoid this problem
Uh,
entirely.
Well, that's not as fun though for the gang that knows
That's
what's up.
true. The gang. What's up? Is that our we finally found a nickname for our fan base. They're the gang.
The gang.
What's up, gang? Anyway,
That's horrible. All right. Hello,
welcome
everybody,
back.
and welcome back to another episode of the McDonCast. We have a star-spangled show lined up for you guys
That's true.
today in honor of no recent events as or relating to political changes going
Well, it is
on
Martin Luther King Day.
January 20th. It is Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah,
Shout
well,
out to the GOAT.
shout out to the goat. Um, he's got this
Um,
day all to himself this year. There's nothing else of note happening today, which is really cool. Sam, have you found it interesting that no interesting United States news stories have happened since 2015?
Nope,
We're
nothing ever happens. We
we're
are
like
in nothing ever happens land.
we're on like year 10 of no news at all.
There somehow we just have managed to avoid things happening.
Yeah.
Things just haven't happened.
Well, other than hot, cool, very relevant movie news.
Speaking of, let me give you guys a brief
Ooh, did you see that
rundown of the
transition?
docket. Let's go. We have some RIPs to announce, or not announce, but to
It's an
discuss.
interesting way to put
Uh,
that.
Trailers. Always lots of trailers. Greta Gerwig is doing things. We got new classic 80s nostalgia bait movies coming out of the pipeline.
Of course, it is
And
Monday.
finally, we teased it a little bit last week with talking about the leaks, but we now have the official Nintendo Switch 2 reveal to discuss at the end as our final piece of news. So with that said, Tucker, why don't you get us started off with our memorial section here?
Yeah, so it was pretty unfortunate. Some of this news it's a few weeks old maybe, but it's pretty slow right now. But obviously a big thing was that a few days ago David Lynch passed away, an iconic American filmmaker. Even if I think a lot of people have heard of him but aren't super familiar with his work. I'm personally not super familiar with his stuff. Like I know what he's done, but I haven't seen a lot of it. But he died of emphysema. I can't read.
Emphysema? That's
Emphysema. Thank you.
it's like a lung disease.
Yeah, of lung disease at the age of 78, just a few days before his 79th birthday. He was married 4 times and is survived by his 4 children. They put out a statement on his social media platforms announcing his death a few days ago, and they've posted a couple of various tributes over the past couple of days. He directed 10 feature films, beginning with Eraserhead and then Elephant Man, the original 80s Dune, Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart, Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me, Lost Highway, Straight Story, Mulholland Drive, and his final theatrical film was called Inland Empire, which released in 2006. He was also a prolific short filmmaker. He's created dozens and dozens of those over the years, and then famously, what will probably be his most widely recognized work, was he co-created, wrote, and directed the acclaimed cult classic TV series Twin Peaks, which ran for 2 seasons in 1990 and 1991, and then he also ran its 2017 miniseries reboot, Twin Peaks: The Return.
And I believe he was also actively involved in a couple different productions with Netflix before he passed away.
Yes, he was current. He had over the years. Over the years, he's actually been notable for his social media presence. He has rather infamously been for many years did daily weather reports of what was the weather was in Los Angeles. He was a very deadpan comedic guy. So if there's been a lot of clips circulating on Twitter these last couple of days of just him in various interviews, and it's been really a lot of fun. Most of the fun of David Lynch was just whenever someone would ask him a stupid question, he would just refuse to answer or elaborate. He was a man who was he was a man famous for creating very surreal films. Lynchian even became a method of describing very like dreamlike abstract movies like the ones he made.
It's like a surrealist type stuff.
Yeah, he was very famous for people would ask him what his movies meant or what certain parts were about, and he would just famously dismiss those questions in general. He loved to let his art stand for itself and just leave it open to interpretation. He received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in 2019. Like I said, a couple filmmakers came out and gave their own tributes, own quotes to the press. Steven Spielberg, who casted him in his 2022 film The Fabelmans, in which he played John Ford. The very final scene of the movie, the only one he's in, is probably the most famous part of that movie. And it's a great scene and he's amazing in it. But Steven Spielberg said it was surreal and seemed like a scene out of one of David's own movies. The world is going to miss such an original and unique voice. Kyle MacLachlan, who starred in Twin Peaks, was the main character for all 3 seasons of that show, posted a very lengthy, really moving tribute to his Instagram about David Lynch. So yeah, a big loss for the film industry. He had, like you had said before, he had been developing for a while a series on Netflix. The Netflix CEO, Ted Sarandos, came out the other day to talk about that a little bit to the press. It had kind of reached a halted period because of the strikes and COVID, and Sam, how do you say it?
Emphysema.
His emphysema had prevented him from leaving his house the last couple of years, so he wasn't able to direct in person anymore. But on all accounts, on top of just being a truly unique filmmaker who made amazing, one-of-a-kind movies, he was also just a very nice man. No one had anything ever bad to say about him. He was just a really funny, entertaining guy who loved art and loved filmmaking, and his entire life focused on and wanted to create features that really spoke to a specific audience. So he will be.
Yeah,
missed.
I've never known a whole lot about David Lynch. I haven't been. I don't really keep up with that sort of genre of movies very often, but I have heard his name thrown around quite a bit. I know he's a very important sort of paragon of film culture, and this loss is going to be that's a big one.
Yeah, even just for like I said, his clips he would post on social media were genuinely some of the most lighthearted, funniest things out there. So it was really, really, really unfortunate to hear that David Lynch had passed away, especially since a lot of the news right now coming out of Los Angeles, where he lived, is not so great. This was just another really unfortunate story. Not a great way to kick off 2025, but because there's not a lot going on right now, I think it's a great time for people with some free time to go watch some David Lynch stuff. I know I watched Eraserhead the other day, which is a terrifying and weird movie all on its own. So if you got some free time, check out some David Lynch stuff. I was on HBO Max and they had a whole section curated of just the stuff of his on there. But yeah, rest in peace, David Lynch.
Moving on to a bit of a lighter story, catching up on trailers. What is going on? What is coming out in the near future? Starting off with Daredevil Born Again.
Yeah.
Is number 1 here.
This is obviously the MCU bringing Daredevil back, Sam. How do we feel? It's been 7 years since the Netflix show wrapped up, which this is officially basically the 4th season of. Although I don't think any of them...
It did have
behind the scenes creative team is coming back for this.
No, and this show has been in a sort of development hole for quite a while, going through a series of productions, redos, scrapping of stuff they had shot, rewriting scripts, adding episodes, changing creative teams, changing the cast. This show has been through a lot, and it was one of the first shows
we talked
that they
about
announced.
that news as it broke a few years ago now, that they
Yeah.
had thrown out fully shot episodes, and we're starting again.
Yeah, I believe, as far as I'm aware, they were about halfway or more so done with filming and producing the first initial version of this show. And then the news broke that like most of the original cast was not coming back outside of just
Charlie Cox and Vincent
Charlie
D'Onofrio.
Cox. Yeah, so they scrapped a lot of what they had done and they kind of reset and reworked to try and tonally recreate something that was more similar to the original show. I guess we'll kind of wait and see how successful they were with that, or yeah, I mean, the first 2 seasons of Daredevil are fantastic. They're great. I really like them. The 3rd season was more of a tying up of loose ends from the Marvel Defenders show, which I did not watch, and so I did not know what was going on in the 3rd season, and so I just kind of gave up. So I'm curious to see kind of what they choose to do here, if they're just kind of resetting everything and sending him on a new adventure, or how much of the original show is going to matter. The trailer looks great. It looks tonally similar, maybe a little bit more gory perhaps than the first season.
I will
the
say
first season did have its fair share of like messy, kind of gritty action to it, but this one seemed, this trailer at least seems, I mean, and maybe they're just trying to focus on that to try and get the fans to be more into it. But like, there's a lot of very sort of gory kills or gory maiming that happens in the trailer. So I will see how that goes, especially for a Disney Plus series. I think this is their first like superhero project that really has.
I don't know if
kind
this
of
is
tone
going to
it.
be TVMA or not. I don't know if they've said this would not be the first time they've put out an MCU Disney Plus show trailer that was way more violent than it actually turned out being.
Yeah,
I'm
than the
thinking
final
specifically of Moon Knight, where they put maybe the
Yeah.
most, like 3 most brutal moments in the whole show in the one first trailer, and then it turned out to be pretty tame. I don't
those
know.
were all in the first episode, and they didn't really. That wasn't really part of the show.
I am interested to see how much of this will be a continuation of stuff from the Netflix show, just because I mean, there's a lot of people who have not seen that. I've only seen the first season. I'm currently making my way through the 2nd season. I'm going to finish it by the time this comes out. But obviously, most of the people who are trying to keep up with MCU stuff probably weren't watching that show when it was airing, because that whole Netflix universe was disconnected for all those years and wasn't made canon until a few years ago, retroactively.
Yeah, well, it was originally intended to be canon, and then when Disney launched Disney Plus, it was kind of in limbo as to whether or not the Daredevil and Defenders part of the MCU still held any water or was still part of the mainline canon anymore. As far as we know, I mean, we have the guy who plays the Punisher returning in this series as well. So as far as we know, that stuff is still canon. There's nothing so far that has directly contradicted it. In fact, Echo does continue with some of the plot points.
Yeah, because this is also a continuation of not only Daredevil, but also Echo and Hawkeye. Both of them teased elements with Kingpin. Obviously, was in both of those shows.
Is the big bad, and
Is supposed
he is the
to be
big bad of
a
Daredevil.
central character in this. Apparently, the plot of this is going to involve them teaming up to face some sort of bigger threat.
Yeah, the Muse, I believe, is the name of. I don't know if he's their bigger threat, but
I think he's in the trailer
villain
for a
they are
second.
teasing in the trailers. Yeah,
But also, White Tiger is in it for like a second, for a frame.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I thought that was the Muse with a different costume. I didn't realize that was supposed to be White Tiger.
Yeah, White Tiger's supposed to show up.
Is this White Tiger like the character from Ultimate Spider-Man or her
This
dad?
is the OG guy White Tiger.
Okay, so the one that's her
Adult
dad.
man White Tiger, yeah. So also it's alluded at the beginning of the trailer that he hasn't been Daredevil for a while. Kingpin brings that up. I don't know if people don't know he's been doing Daredevil for a while, but we saw him obviously
That's
in
that's just
Echo.
but
that was
not
in a
only was he in
flashback
Echo, but he
scene.
was also in She-Hulk, which
That's true. I forgot he was in
fairly
She-Hulk.
recent project and had like a new costume.
They have been popping up a lot. Kingpin
Yeah,
and
they've been-
Daredevil. Because obviously
they've
Matt Murdock
really been-
showed up in Spider-Man No Way Home.
They have been doing a lot to tee up this show with him
Yeah.
showing up in No Way Home, his villains being sprinkled throughout the other Disney Plus shows, Echo, which I mean could fully just be considered a Daredevil spinoff, because Echo the character is like directly related to, or not genetically, but directly related to, at least family-wise, to Kingpin. So like this is essentially like the Avengers of the Marvel Disney Plus TV series, with like this being the thing that they've been building up to this whole time.
Yeah, this is definitely a thing that is, and it is interesting that looking back on it, how much they have internally like, or like even in all of their movies been like, Daredevil's gonna come back, Daredevil's gonna come back, Daredevil's gonna come back. So they better have a really, really interesting idea for this fourth season, because it's already been picked up for another second season that's supposed to go into production before this even comes out. The original plan was one season of 18 episodes. This is now going to be 2 seasons of 9 episodes. There were multiple set photos of him and Punisher. There are rumors that this is going to revolve around some corrupt cops using the Punisher logo. We'll see what happens with that.
I mean, there is definitely content to be made there, because that is like just a thing that like
In
has
real life.
happened in the real world.
That it, yeah, there's been a lot of talk in reality of changing the Punisher logo because of that.
Because if it's sort of co-option by sort of more militant police units.
Yeah, and then obviously it's in the trailer and it was teased in Echo. Kingpin will be the mayor of New York City, so we'll see
That
if he's doing
seems
evil
kind
corruption.
of silly to me, because of how.
Because in the universe, he's been incarcerated like 2 or 3 times, right?
Yeah, and it was for corruption and other related, but you know, also.
Yeah, I
know,
was
in the
gonna
real
say,
world,
you know,
apparently, I
what
guess
happened
that doesn't
today,
really matter
Sam?
that much. So maybe it is the most realistic outcome. You know, who knows?
Yeah.
But Muse is a really interesting character. So he's
They're
kind of
definitely
like
going. I know they say they're doing the more violent, brutal stuff. They're definitely going in a little more cartoony direction with the villains here, and with
Muse
the
is
costume. I'm just even from
basically
just a
just
design
a serial
standpoint.
killer. Like he doesn't have a lot of. I'm sure they'll give more structure to his goals in the show, but he is mostly just a serial killer. What makes him interesting is his abilities. His body like nullifies sensory information, so he's not. You can't hear him. He's kind of like the anti-Daredevil in the sense that like he's kind of.
He's deaf.
He's not deaf.
He's got super sight, but he's deaf.
No, he just his body like nullifies sound, so you can't hear him or sense him scent wise. He has super strength and he's super fast, so just your generic strength and speed outside of that. But his main power is he's imperceptible. That's his main thing.
Yeah, but there's that.
So-
Obviously, White Tiger. I mean, he's just straight up got the big White Tiger outfit.
Well, White Tiger, I don't think is he's more like an anti-hero character, right?
I'm just saying, like, it's a little bit more of a theatrical supporting cast. And then it looks like there's a scene in the trailer where you see Kingpin kind of beating a guy up, and it looks like he's going to retain that kind of more cartoonish strength from Hawkeye we saw, where he can like hit people's sword, they fling across a room. Because in the Netflix show, he's just a big guy who is just a he's just very strong.
Oh, sorry, which one?
Kingpin.
Right, I mean that's kind of his thing. He's just a big, strong
But then when we
dude.
got to Hawkeye, he was like punching someone across a building. So we'll see if that
Yeah,
sticks
he's
around
been
too.
he has been Spider-Versed a little bit with them kind of taking some of his characterization from that movie
Yeah.
and applying it to the the MCU character.
Do you remember when there
So
was
he-
talk of trying to digitally make him look like that, like in the show, in Hawkeye?
I don't remember.
There
That
were
would have
rumors
been
that they
really
were going to
silly.
try to like digitally make him bigger, so he resembled more of the Spider-Verse design.
Also, isn't he supposed to be blind? Are we just not?
They
just
resolved
not
that
doing
in
that?
they resolved that in Echo, didn't they? Like
Well, I
she
know
shot
he
him
had
in the
robot-
face, and then he had like a robot contact lens.
Yeah, but did that give it? I thought the
I don't
robot
even-
contact lens was just so he could do sign language, not so he. I didn't know that that was.
I don't know. I guess
Also to fix his eye.
I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I can't remember for the life of me a single thing that happened in the Echo TV show, and I did watch the whole thing.
Echo has the power to channel the abilities of her ancestors, I
Right,
think.
which are like bird powers or something.
Well, no, because her most oldest ancestors were aliens or something.
Right. Or was that
Uh,
Miss Marvel, or was that both?
No. This was Echo. Because
Did
remember
they
lived
both
in
have
that like
alien
cave
ancestors?
thing. They lived in that like cave thing underground, and then they, I think like
Or are you thinking of Kaori
think-
from What If?
no.
Are there
no.
three-
Her
are there
powers came from the
three-
space stone.
Are there 3 female characters in the MCU who have ancient ancestor alien powers, or just 2?
No, Kaori, her powers were just from the space stone. She
Oh, look,
wasn't.
I made
She
balloons
didn't have any
pop up.
alien parentage. And neither did Captain Marvel. She also got her powers from the space stone. She was just a regular woman before that. And then she had been brainwashed into believing
No, I'm thinking of Miss
that
Marvel.
she was a Kree.
Because
Miss Marvel,
they were from like another dimension or something.
Miss Marvel's grandma was from another dimension,
Right.
and so that's how she got her powers. But Echo's ancestors were just aliens who I think like interbred with the like Native American tribe there, and then like their powers like passed on to their children, and,
Okay.
and like gave her like kind of like all for one or one for all, where like the powers are passed down from person to person and they like amplify over time. But
I don't expect Echo to show up in this. I think they're just kind of going
do.
to. You really think
no,
so?
I think Echo is going to show up.
See,
I don't. You have she kind.
I
She's
think she
too
might-
important now for them to not have her show up.
But
She
no
is
one watched that show.
It doesn't matter. They will wedge her into the show, even if it's not an important role. She will show up.
See, I think they're.
She's too heavily tied to the Kingpin lore to have her not show up now.
See, I think what they're doing is season 2 of this. We're gonna get basically the Defenders reunited plus Echo now. Like we're getting Punisher in this season. I think we're probably gonna get something. Jessica Jones is probably still around too, and then we have obviously Luke Cage, and they're gonna recast Iron Fist. We know that they're not going to do Danny Rand next time. They've been moving away from that character in the comics. So I think Daredevil season 2, I think we'll get Echo and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage and all them. But I think this season,
All of those
I don't think we're gonna
characters
get Echo.
survived the original.
Yeah, they're all
show,
still
right?
running around. The only reason I say they're not bringing Iron Fist back is just because there was a lot of internet controversy just around the fact that he exists in general.
Yeah, which is really
And they introduced a new. They introduced a new.
It doesn't make any sense.
They introduced a new Iron Fist in the comics who is Asian. So if they do him in the MCU, he'll be that. And that character from the comics, the Asian Iron Fist, was in an episode of What If. So
He is also the Iron Fist that is in Marvel Rivals,
Yeah.
which has recently really exploded.
So I think he might even show up in like Ironheart or something first. Because that's also supposed to have magic guys in it.
Maybe.
Who knows? But anyway, one other thing I wanted to note from the Daredevil trailer. One of the very last shots is it shows like his shelf of masks, and they're all different colors. My question is, how would he even know that they are different colors?
Well, someone can just tell him that
But
they are
if he's
different
suiting
colors.
up by himself, like,
Well, he knows where they are.
But my question is
What do you
what
mean?
for him? What is the point of having different colored suits?
I mean, I don't think it would really matter to him.
Also,
but, like, he might just. It might be that they're different materials.
like he would
or
at some
something.
point
I
get
don't
like
know.
the pants and the helmet mixed up, right? Like he'd one time accidentally go out with like the yellow pants and the green helmet and the red shirt.
I'm sure it's possible.
He's a blind. Why would he even have? That just seems unnecessarily confusing for
I
himself.
would say like maybe like depending on the environment, he wears like different colors, but none of his suits are really camouflaged.
No,
to anything specific.
let me tell you
He has
these
the
colors.
gold and red one. That is
He's
not
got
camo at all.
He's got red. He's got darker red. He's got gray, yellow, and black. So I don't.
I don't-
Not
maybe
what
just
is
for the
see? I
vibe.
don't even. What is the yellow even for? Like, what are you using the yellow?
Yellow is because it's a reference to his
Yes,
costume
I
in the
remember.
comics.
Remember,
That's why.
everyone was like, for years, was like they should put him in the yellow suit, and then he showed up in the yellow suit in She-Hulk, and people started complaining that it was too goofy.
Oh, that suit actually sucks, and now I know why they changed it.
Anyway, this is coming March 9th, I believe. It's the first of like 15 Disney Plus shows this year. They're literally just supposed to air pretty much nonstop for the whole year. These Marvel shows.
I mean, that's fine. They've kind of been.
because they have to crank out 6 of these.
They don't really have anything going on.
'Cause they've been
All we
sitting on
had
'em.
last year was what? Like What
it
If?
was Agatha and What If.
Yeah, that's not
Hey,
exactly an all-star
I will
lineup.
say, if this is good, it's supposed to overlap a little bit with Andor season 2, and that would be pretty awesome to have both of those going at the same time. If this is good, that'd be a pretty great double feature.
That would be really cool. All right.
Anyway, next trailer, Sam.
Moving on to the next trailer, we have Until Dawn.
The movie, not the
The
game from a
movie.
decade ago.
For
Finally,
those of you who are unaware, Until Dawn is a choose-your-own-adventure horror game where you and your friends are in this cabin in the mountains, and a serial killer shows up and starts like tormenting the friends, and then as the friends are trying to deal with that, Wendigos start appearing out of nowhere and also start killing people.
do you want
And
to
then
explain what a Wendigo
spoilers,
is?
slight spoilers for the game. Turns out the serial killer thing was just a prank one of their friends was pulling, but the Wendigo thing is actually real, and so they're having to like deal with that.
Do you wanna
A
explain
Wendigo
that?
is I believe it is a creature from Native American folklore that was later then adopted by Appalachian folklore. That is I don't know exactly how a Wendigo gets made, but I am aware that you're not supposed to say their name because then they show up and they kill you.
Ooh, that's
So
spooky.
if you're watching this and you live in like the mountains of Arkansas, yeah, sorry about
Watch
that.
out for Wendigos. They'll get you.
In the game, I think the way it works is like if you get killed and eaten by a Wendigo, you turn into one, or like your corpse does, and they can only be killed with fire in the game. So they're immune to like basically all other forms of damage.
Yeah, but
It's an interesting game.
This trailer
I've seen
looks
playthroughs
fine.
of it.
I
I've
don't
never
know
played it
anything
myself.
about the game, like really at all. I just know the cover. I know
Rami Malek was in
Rami
it.
Malek was in it, and I know it's popular. So like,
I watched
I'm
a
interest-
GT Live play through it like a million years ago, and it was a cool like watch through. Like it makes for a good watch. So like I'm sure it'll be fine.
I do wonder what the point of a movie version of a choose your own adventure game is.
Well, they made a movie of Clue, so
That's true, but
I don't think that matters too much to them.
to me, it's not. Normally, when you make a video game adaptation, you're kind of streamlining the game components and just getting the story down. Like this,
Yeah.
the story is the game. There's not really a lot of game outside of that, other than like the player's choices. So if you deprive the player's
Yeah, and the
choices,
quick time events.
there's really not a lot to like. There's not a lot of reason for this movie to exist. I will say.
I mean, you can play off the like gory kills and the like who because there's a lot of mystery surrounding this like area. There's like
I think they've also
cursed
said
experiments and stuff that
there's
was
going to
going on.
be like pretty major difference. Like they're going to add some and change some stuff from the game.
I believe they are changing the way that the Wendigos work, which in my opinion was one of the cooler aspects of the game, to be like basically they're just like zombies. Which
Well, they
like,
might be
oh,
simplifying it a little bit.
oh no, scary zombies! Oh no, it's very scary.
I will say,
Um,
I do like the creative team. It's the writer is Gary Dauberman, who's been doing the Conjuring stuff for the last couple of years, and he's pretty solid. And then David F. Sandberg, this is his first movie since Shazam: Fury of the Gods. But he has made good stuff in the past, so I think this will be interesting if nothing else. This is yet another will video game adaptations become the next big thing.
or just like, will this even work? Like, can you adapt this this type of game?
If nothing else, this is a horror movie, so it's got a guaranteed
And
audience.
like again, this game did have like like actors in it. Like there is.
Yeah,
You can just watch the game as a movie already.
I think
and
one of them is
enjoy
coming
it
back
that way.
I think there's one or two that are coming back from the game to be in this. I don't think it's any of the main characters. I think it's one of the supporting ones.
Oh, and the like general premise is one of the characters dies very early on, or is severely injured. I don't remember what exactly. And so they radio for help, and the helicopter can't get there until dawn, and so they have to survive the night. And then there's the serial killer, and there's these Wendigo, and there's like some other sketchy guys who are just around with like shotguns. Yeah.
Yeah, but
All
the
right.
trailer,
What is Alto Nights? What is that? What is this?
we talked about this last week on the big preview show. This is the movie where Robert De Niro plays
Robert's
two guys.
here.
Robert's.
I'm
That should be the
watching the
tagline.
trailer with subtitles.
This is one of 3 Warner Brothers movies with one actor playing 2 guys to come out this year in the first half of the year. So get ready for that. So this is a movie where Robert De Niro plays 2 gangsters who are kind of at the end of their
Gangster
rope.
career.
Yeah, he's playing Vito Genovese and Frank Costello, who are both real mobsters.
I was gonna say I feel like I've heard those names before.
Yeah, so premise is Vito Genovese and Frank Costello are Italian-American mob bosses, and Genovese orders a hit on Costello. Costello survives, but is ultimately wounded in an attempt and ultimately decides to retire from the mafia. I will say, this trailer looks pretty solid. And
Yeah, I mean it looks like it's like shot well. It looks artfully made.
I do find it interesting that like this movie is even being made at all. Like I feel like this movie stopped being made in the mid 90s and studios stopped doing stuff like this, but
Well, I mean we had The Irishman not that long ago, and we still get mob stuff every
but
once
like
in a
to
while.
get a big theatrical release like this is coming out in March from Warner Brothers. Director is Barry Levinson, who's done a million things, but people probably know him most for Rain Man. And then Nicholas Pileggi is writing, who wrote Goodfellas, or co-wrote Goodfellas with Martin Scorsese. So yeah, I mean, that's a pretty solid creative team. The trailer looks pretty good, and it's not too expensive. The reported budget is $45 million. So this...
Well, yeah, because they only had to. They were able to.
They only had to pay for one
hire
Robert
one
De Niro.
guy.
My question is, do you think they get paid twice as much when they do the 2 roles, or do
Jim
you think they get
Carrey's-
paid one rate?
If Jim Carrey's Sonic 3 interviews are to be believed, then no, they just get paid one rate.
Okay, then that has to be the driving factor behind these kind of decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way they went into this. I wonder if they were gonna hire like Al Pacino. But then like Robert De Niro demanded so much money, they were like, you just do both the roles.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say about it. Mob Boss movie.
Yay!
All right.
Anyway.
Are we winning or are we losing?
Yeah, there's another.
Why does that barista not have a nose?
This was
That's
a big controversy
creepy.
on Twitter, Sam.
That she doesn't have a nose?
That she doesn't. I don't know why she doesn't have a nose. I don't know who decided that she shouldn't have a nose.
Was it like she like surgically removed her nose?
Maybe that'll be part
Why
of
are
the
we
show.
doing Fall Guy? Are we
People,
playing
some
Fall
people
Guy
might
now?
be really confused. So we're talking about the trailer for Win or Lose, which is Pixar's new show for Disney Plus. This is their first a full-length original animated series for the platform. It's about a Little League co-ed softball team. And each episode is the same week of their championship, but from different characters' perspectives.
That sounds like a cool idea.
It sounds neat. It's already been marred in controversy.
Yeah.
So we'll see
I believe
if
they
it can escape
cut an
that.
episode that was supposed to be from the perspective of a character on the team who is trans, and then they decided to not do that because it is a show ultimately for children, and they thought that that was too mature of a subject. Whether or not you agree with that is up to you, I
Leave a
suppose. But
comment.
it is a thing that has happened. I'm not a huge fan of this art style.
I'm not either. It kind of looks like they're trying to rip off like Illumination almost, or like DreamWorks.
It looks like
It doesn't look
between-
very Pixar.
It looks like you took the art style from Luca and then like
It does
simplified it even further.
Yeah, you
Like
think
just
because this was announced like 5 years ago now. You think the animation would be like Pixar movie quality, and that's why it took so long. But it does kind of just like a slightly more expensive Disney XD show.
there are a lot of really cool shots. Like there are a lot of really cool animation. Like it does have
It
flair.
looks
to
like
it.
it's gonna
like, it's
encode
clear-
a lot of different
yeah.
styles as well.
It's clear that a lot of work did go into this, but I just am not personally a fan of the art style they picked for their main, I guess, stuff they show off. I don't know. I mean,
Will you be watching, Sam?
probably not. I have to be a lot more selective with what I choose to watch, and this seems like something that is just kind of made for a much younger audience.
You didn't even have
I'm
time
not-
to watch What If season 3.
I watched like most of it. I will probably finish it eventually. I just
This is the MCU completionist brain.
yeah.
It's got
All right.
Have you seen? I was thinking about this the other day. Have we seen literally everything that is like main MCU canon? I think so. At
I
this
have
point, right?
not seen the Hulk movie.
The Incredible Hulk from 2008.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't seen
have.
that. But I think
You might need to rewatch it because the new Captain
I
America
think
is like
that,
half a
and then
sequel
like
to it.
the Defenders I haven't seen. And
Yeah, I haven't
saw
seen the Netflix stuff.
I saw the first season of Jessica Jones. I didn't watch the other ones. I didn't watch Iron Fist. Actually, I watched like 2 episodes of
Did you
Iron
know
Fist.
that
and it
Iron
was
Fist
boring.
had a second season? Like that show made it.
No,
Why?
did not.
Okay, I will say I hope they do.
And I did not watch the second season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I saw most of the first season.
Okay,
Or
that
if
ran
there
for
are more
7
seasons.
years, and I don't even
Yeah,
think
I
that.
saw most of the first season.
I don't think that one's canon. I think they've just kind of swept that one under the rug.
Well, I mean, Captain Carter,
Agent
Peggy
Coulson?
Carter is in a lot of it, and she's
Has
supposedly important.
Has Coulson come back since the
Uh,
first Avengers movie and anything? I'm trying to think.
So technically,
I know in the show, but like other than Agents of
In-
Shield.
he was alive in the previously sort of, but not really canon Marvel Disney XD cartoons.
Okay, so no.
That they then later decanonized because they wanted to make
no.
an actual Spider-Man movie.
Okay. Interesting. Maybe he'll be back in Secret Wars. I'm fully expecting literally everyone to be in Secret Wars, including like me and you. I think this clip of us will
It'll
be in
just be
Secret
like
Wars.
Fortnite. It'll be every
Every-
single character
the
that's
Predator,
ever been thought of.
The xenomorph from Alien, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
It's literally gonna be the cinema meme from like TikTok, but like with just it'll just be that actually.
It'll be like the movie industry just completely blow it, like in every way, thrusting every IP forcibly onto the audience they can possibly imagine. Because that is the next step, right?
Just like put all the things in one movie.
Well, because really, Secret Wars is going to be like everyone who's ever been in any Marvel movie from any time is going to show up.
Yeah, because we got to reset the universe.
Because we got to bring like all the old X-Men back and stuff. I
Yeah.
think like the next step after that is we start crossing some of these IPs over, like Spider-Man and the Predator, Superman and the Goonies. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that.
I don't see a lot of potential there, but where there is always potential is with monkey movie. So let's talk about the monkey. Monkey movie
There was another,
always make
yeah.
money.
So there was another trailer for The Monkey, which is the new film from Osgood Perkins. He's hot off of Long Legs. He's
I
adapting a
saw,
Stephen King
I
short
think,
story. The trailer
yeah, I
looks.
saw some early reviews for this. They said it was good.
It looks way, way more comedic than Long Legs was, which is a
Which
very
is,
dour, dour,
it does make
horrifying
me
movie.
further question, I suppose, some of the directorial choices when it comes to Nick Cage's performance in Long Legs, if those were intended to be comedic moments because of the tone of this project.
See, I don't think. I think whatever the decisions Nicolas Cage makes in any movie, I don't think you can chop any of those up to the director. Because I think every director who's ever worked with Nicolas Cage has just told him to go. And then whatever he gives you is just in the movie, regardless of
You
whether or
just
not
press the
it's
button
totally
and he does what he
consistent. Yeah,
does.
you just gotta watch. And I think like that's like you know that going in. Like no one hires Nicolas Cage being like,
You
I'm
know
gonna
what
really
might be the
get him to
greatest
play this type
possible
of
movie you
character.
could ever make?
What's that?
I think we need a Tommy Wiseau Nick Cage movie. I think that needs to be made
You know,
before one of them dies.
yeah, I think you might be onto something. Maybe now that Trump is president, uh, when we're in the golden age of Hollywood. Did you see he made Mel Gibson and what's his face? It was Mel Gibson and John Voight and God Dennis Quaid. They're they're the official ambassadors to Hollywood.
I don't even. What is the? Did we have? Is that a thing? Do we have that?
They're ambassadors to a place that is within the United States and doesn't require ambassadors.
Or are they just like in charge of making sure they're like doing what I say? Like, what does that even
No,
mean?
what's also interesting is
that the Ministry of Culture? Like, is that what they're supposed to
they
be? Like,
didn't know they were being appointed until the social media post. So I don't even think they know what their jobs are.
I don't think that is going to matter ever or at all. All right. Well,
Anyway,
I don't
this
have a
does
lot
look
to say
good.
about Monkey.
This looks good, and I'm looking forward to it. That's all I had to say.
Yeah. It looks fun. It looks interesting.
And we'll move on now to
Let's
some
talk about
interesting
Greta Gerwig.
Netflix news. So Greta Gerwig, writer director of Lady Bird and Little Women, and of course, mega movie $1 billion Barbie. Her next project.
And Wonder Woman 1984.
She was not involved in that.
She did not do that.
She would not be getting jobs if she was involved in that. No, Patty Jenkins doing Lego stuff now.
I feel like Patty Jenkins is like Greta Gerwig's like evil opposite. Like that's who Patty Jenkins thinks that she is.
No, because Greta Gerwig seems to have a sense of like self-awareness and humor. Patty Jenkins takes everything she does with like 100% seriousness, even though Wonder Woman 1984 is like really stupid and just generally just conceptually a dumb movie. Greta Gerwig, like Barbie, obviously has like a massive sense of self-awareness to like itself, like what it is as a property and a movie. Patty Jenkins could never do something. The Barbie movie is great. What a solid time. What a good movie. What a fun time. Anyway, her next thing is she's supposed to be adapting the Chronicles of Narnia book series for Netflix. And in a rare agreement with Netflix, she has secured an IMAX theatrical release for her first Narnia movie. It'll receive an exclusive 2-week theatrical run before its Netflix release in Christmas of 2026, so next year. The film is supposed to hit theaters Thanksgiving Day, and then again have that 2-week global theatrical window before releasing on Netflix. So Netflix finally caving to the pressure of one of its filmmakers, giving one of their movies a theatrical release. Suffice it to say, this would have not happened if it were not for Barbie. If she didn't have that amount of cachet, she would not have been able to swing Netflix into giving it a theatrical release. They are famously incredibly stubborn and just refuse to, and just leave money on the table all the time, refusing to give these movies theatrical releases. The closest thing they ever got to one before was, you probably remember a couple of years ago when Glass Onion came out, that had a 1 week theatrical window in like 800 theaters, and they refused to report any of the grosses from it. But it was like roughly estimated to have made like a really considerable amount of money. And then it was big on Netflix anyway. I don't think Netflix realizes that putting it in theaters boosts the Netflix numbers later on.
Yeah, because then people talk about it and then they go see it on Netflix. People are used to that being the process. They understand that that's how it comes out first and then you get it on streaming later. People understand. You don't need to force it to go out on Netflix first to boost subscribers, because that's not... Though Netflix lives by the popularity of what is on it.
Yeah.
So if you just release stuff straight to it, with some exceptions, they're not going to go anywhere unless people already know it's popular.
And also, like, when you release a movie in theaters, that kind of gives the audience a perception that it's like a real movie. Like, Anyone But You, obviously giant in theaters, made a bunch of money. The rom-com with Sydney Sweeney and Glenn Powell. And then it went to Netflix months later and was giant on that service because it had come out in theaters. People recognized it as like, oh, this is a real movie. This is like, people spent time and money and thought making this, and now I can watch it on Netflix. Whereas Back in Action, starring Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz, dropped on Netflix this last weekend, and no one cared because every Netflix movie looks the same, and they release 8 of them a week. So putting especially their high-profile movies, like they're also supposed to put out Knives Out 3 this year. Give that a theatrical release, like of some sort. Because one, that would make money. That's a popular IP. The first one did back in 2019. And two, it's basically just serves as marketing for the Netflix debut later on anyway. So hopefully they change up their methods at least a little bit, and this is a sign of that. But I think this is also partially they just had to cave to her because she made Barbie, and you can't really say no to the person who
that's
just
also
made Barbie.
Like an interesting choice for directing Narnia, because Narnia, as most people are aware, is a deeply allegorical story for the life of Jesus.
If you've ever read
deeply religious
Lion, Witch,
property.
and the Wardrobe, man, it's all Bible allusions, and none of it is subtle.
I don't know that the director of Lady Bird is necessarily...
She said her take is more rock and roll
to go with.
So we'll see what that means.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like the thing that Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe is.
I mean,
but
they made the movies before. I mean, Disney made 4 of them, I think.
We'll see.
Or 3.
Yeah, the director of that one was like a relative for Hollywood.
I'm not
relatively outspoken Christian guy. I'm not saying you have to be Christian necessarily either to like direct this movie, but she's done some like religious deconstruction in some of her other movies.
I will say that Lady Bird isn't like an anti-religious movie.
No.
In fact, especially the ending of that movie is very forgiving and supportive of religious faith, I would say. And I have no idea what her personal kind of like religious views are, but trying to make a rock and roll version of Narnia seems like a bit of a crazy idea.
She just does a lot of like sort of countercultural commentary.
But yeah, also if you told me
generally speaking,
if you had told me what she was going to do with Barbie 3 years ago, I would have said that's kind of a dumb idea. So who knows?
Yeah. She just the only reason I bring it up, she is known mostly for like her, like I said, commentary on sort of cultural issues and like counterculture and that kind of stuff like that. Making a property that is deeply rooted in sort of more traditional beliefs. I'm interested to see how that coalesces, and I guess we'll see when the movie gets made.
Also, Thanksgiving next year that's quick. I mean, apparently there's as far as we know, there's no cast, no shooting dates. I don't even know if there's a script or not. So that's a quick turnaround.
I mean, if they're following the book, I don't see it taking that. I mean, the book's not even that long. Like, this shouldn't be.
No, it's not a long book, but
project.
I mean, it would presumably have a lot of VFX and stuff. I mean, most of the characters are talking animals. So
Yeah.
anyway,
We'll see.
interesting news. It's really slow right now because it's January. But we got
Yeah,
so
something
just
going on.
before this next story, but we got some sort of interesting news out of Warner Brothers. Deadline put an article out about their strategy in the upcoming year. They have a very interesting film slate. And then also, but according to Deadline, Warner Brothers has chosen to let go of worldwide marketing president Josh Goldstein and international theatrical distribution president Andrew Cripps coming into the new year. The big headline here was that they let go of their marketing president, which was interesting because I would say Warner Brothers has run some fairly successful marketing campaigns in the previous few years, but also some abysmal marketing campaigns in the last few years. I mean, first thing that comes to mind is obviously Barbie. Amazing marketing campaign, super well run, very expensive, but super, super good marketing campaign there. But then also, like earlier that summer, The Flash, which had an abysmal marketing campaign that appealed to no one and made no sense. So maybe a good idea, maybe not. But Warner's upcoming 13-picture slate for 2025 is driven almost entirely by auteur pieces anchored by James Gunn's Superman in July. If you look at Warner Brothers' slate, they have 3 big IP movies, which is Superman, which even that is kind of a wild card. We don't even really know how well that's going to do. Minecraft, which is going to be a giant hit, and then Mortal Kombat 2 are like their only real pre-established like IP franchises. And again, even Minecraft this is the first Minecraft movie. But then the article also went into like kind of their thought process behind what they're doing. So this year they paid $90 million plus for Ryan Coogler's Sinners, which is a horror movie, which is an exceptionally high price for a horror movie.
I don't even know what that is. Is that based on something else, or is this
that's
a new
the
thing?
Michael B. Jordan plays 2 guys movie. You've seen the trailer for it.
The 2 guys meta is going strong.
Well, we'll see if it's going strong. If this bombs, it's not a meta. They paid $80 million for Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride, which is another horror movie. That one is particularly interesting because Netflix offered to pay $90 million for it. Maggie Gyllenhaal went to Warner Brothers instead for the $80 million because she got a theatrical release with them. And the only other movie she has written and directed cost $5 million. So Maggie Gyllenhaal is getting a $75 million budget increase. Apparently some of that was because she insisted on shooting in New York, which is famously expensive, but that's really weird for that to cost that much. And then Paul Thomas Anderson's, and we talked about this a little bit on last week's show. Untitled Leonardo DiCaprio movie, $100 to $140 million budget, which is twice the amount his highest grossing movie has ever made. They have secured a full IMAX release for this. And apparently their reasoning behind it is that other auteur filmmakers' highest grossing movies have starred Leonardo DiCaprio. So they are really banking that Leo will drive this thing to like 500 million worldwide.
Well, the algorithm says
which is particularly interesting because his last movie with Martin Scorsese did not make that much money at all. So these are all interesting choices, and I'm really interested to see a lot of these movies, but I don't really know what their reasoning is behind it. And then at the end of the article, it goes into what they're kind of planning in the upcoming years as like the anchors of their film slate. Listen to some of this stuff. So they have Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, which is their big return to live action Lord of the Rings.
That movie's going to suck, but like, okay, I guess.
Practical Magic 2. They're moving ahead with a sequel to the movie Practical Magic. Sam, I know what you're thinking. What is that?
I think I remember hearing about that once.
Sandra Bullock, Nicole Kidman, both supposed to come back to play Magic Witch Sisters or something. I have no idea. And then Supergirl and Clayface from DC. Supergirl has just started shooting this week. And then Drew Goddard is developing a new Matrix script. So The Matrix is coming back.
Yeah, we need The Matrix 6. I was just thinking that actually.
I don't. What do
Or
you
is this
even?
5? The Matrix 5?
Yes, this would be 5.
Yeah.
Um,
Now
I don't
Neo
even.
has to get hip replacement surgery because he's old.
Resurrections came out like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and was awful.
It came out in 2020, I thought.
I think it might have been 21. I
It
think
was day and date
21.
on
Yeah,
HBO.
it was day and day on streaming, but it lost a bunch of money and everyone hated it. So
Yeah, it was a really dumb movie. I watched it. It was really dumb.
I don't know what they're thinking here. Are they going to bring Keanu back again?
And there were like AI, human, robot, synthezoids.
But it's got the Matrix in the title,
Oh
so
no!
we got
And
to
they
do
they
another
brought
one.
it up randomly and then never talked about it again.
is
They're like,
really-
oh yeah, we made robots that are people, and then they just kind of were like, all right, anyway, back to what we're doing.
I think the Matrix is one of those bigger examples of IPs where like the first one made a lot of money and then it's been nothing but decline since then. But because that first one made a lot of money 20 plus years ago, they're just beating this horse for every dime.
It was a massively influential film.
Oh, of course.
The action genre.
You can pretty much categorize
Yeah.
action movies pre and post The Matrix. It was the biggest thing to happen in the genre since Die Hard a decade earlier.
It did for action films what Star Wars did for science fiction. Like
Pretty much,
it was a absolute heel turn and it redefined the entire genre. But that said, aside from like the first two, they have not had a banger. So
it's not even just banger, like they've been making less money.
Yeah, they've
Like-
just gotten like worse.
What was the second one called? Reloaded. Reloaded made I think,
Yeah.
more
It's
than the
Reloaded,
first one.
Resurrections, and then no.
It's Reloaded, Revolutions, and Resurrections.
Yeah.
But
so what's this one gonna be? Rundagar Jones, like
Regurgitate.
regurgitation,
Matrix Regurgitations.
and it's just literally
Neo-
just the first movie, but with like
Neo's
redone
got to
VFX.
No, it's Neo has to go to the doctor to get his stomach checked out.
He's got to get his stomach pumped because he took too many red pills.
He ate too many of the pills.
That's so stupid. All right. Anyway.
Oh, and then also Christopher Columbus, not the explorer, the writer and director, is developing not only a new Gremlins film, but also a new Goonies movie. Are you interested in either of those? I mean, Gremlins 3 has been being talked about for like 40 years.
I've never cared about Gremlins. Gremlins have always been so deeply uninteresting to me. I do not care. The only good version of Gremlins is that one Gumball episode where they make fun of the Gremlins.
Do you like the first one? You've probably never seen the second one, I'm guessing.
I've never seen the whole movie. I've only seen like
Really?
part of it because I just don't care. I don't care at all.
Famously,
I cannot care.
but would you watch a third one?
No, I won't even watch a first one.
What if it's the Gremlins take over like Amazon?
I don't. Why would I care about the
What if
Gremlins?
it's-
Are not like
What if
The
it's
gr-
the
the Gremlins
Gremlins
to me
take
are like
over the United
minions.
States government?
they're like the purple minions from Despicable Me 2. Like that, they are nothing. They are just like little guys who are mad and break stuff, and
But
that's
Gizmo
it.
is cute.
I don't care about Gizmo.
What?
Gizmo's a regular minion.
Sam,
Gizmo's just a normal minion.
That's crazy. This might be the hottest take you've ever had.
It's not.
That
He's just
Gizmo and a
worse-
regular minion are the same?
He's just a worse Baby Yoda. Because you know what? At least Baby Yoda doesn't make a lot of noise, and so that makes him more palatable.
No, that's an insane take. But what about more Goonies, though?
I don't. How do you make more Goonies?
They're all
Are any of them
60.
even still alive?
They're
How-
all alive, but they're old. Because
How
they're
do you?
adults.
Is it their kids?
It's been 40 years.
Goonies cast. Let's see. Josh Brolin. Was
I mean,
in...
yeah, it's Brolin,
Goonies?
it's Ke Kwan, it's Sean Astin. Like, it's guys who are still working, but like, if it's 60-year-old men doing Goonies, that's just kind
Okay,
of sad.
this dude's got a freaking eye. Oh wait, no, he's probably not still alive because that picture looks old. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care about this. I don't want to know this. I don't. Why are we doing more Goonies?
Because
Why are we doing Goonies 2
the
like
first
40
one,
years after
made
Goonies 1?
money in 1985, 40 years ago.
And the director's dead. Like, how do you even?
But the
What are
writer
we
is
doing?
still alive.
What are we
Can
talking
be
about?
mined for more IP.
What are? Also, the first Goonies movie doesn't really make a lot of sense.
To be
at
fair,
all. Like, why is there
the
a
first
cave in their
Goonies-
neighborhood that
it's
goes to a
not
giant pirate ship cave?
This might be a
that
hot
doesn't
take,
make any sense.
but the first Goonies is not even particularly very good.
No, it isn't.
It
Like,
really
we've
isn't.
seen it a couple times when we were kids, and I think even then we were like, this movie is kind of
Because
like it's just not great.
it's always lumped in as like one of the Spielberg kind of kid adventure movies with like E.T. E.T. is a considerably better movie
It does. It
than
did
the
kind
Goonies
of.
is.
It did contribute a lot to the kids go on an adventure genre, but like,
It's not great.
it's not that good. It's been done better since. It's just Indiana Jones, but if they were kids, like I'll just go watch Indiana Jones. I don't care about
But
that.
what if
Sorry.
they're old?
And then there's the scary guy who lives in the basement.
Sloth?
Remember him? Yeah. Or I think in Teen Titans Go, they're just like, oh, it's the freak who lives in the basement.
He had some IP cross promotion even back in the day because he had that Superman shirt. But even that, I
Yeah.
think that was even just a reference to the fact that Richard Donner had also directed Superman. I don't even think that was. Even now it would be like they would like point it out every 5 seconds. They'd be like, Superman, we love Superman. Anyway,
Oh, isn't your favorite guy Superman? Yeah.
in theaters now on Blu-ray and 4K.
Yeah, I don't really. I've never been the biggest Goonies fan.
No.
I mean, it's a fun movie. Like,
I don't
once,
want
but,
more
like,
Goonies. I
it's
don't want more
kinda
Gremlins.
boring.
I don't want
kind of
any
a
of
boring
this.
movie.
Looking at this slate, I mean, I watched the DC stuff because I'm curious about that whole thing, but like, I'm not in any way interested in more Lord of the Rings. That's run its course. I don't want more Matrix.
Sinners.
I don't think.
I don't care about The Bride. I don't care about Leonardo DiCaprio.
I'm just
I
saying.
don't
Like,
care about
I don't
what
think.
else is on here.
I don't think anyone is wanting more Matrix like at all. Like I think that's been
we're
proven.
done. We're
I
so done
don't
with
know
the
why
Matrix.
they keep doing that.
John Wick is better than the Matrix.
Okay, he might be overstepping a little bit right there.
As like an action movie, like
Okay,
I think
yeah,
the
you still
Matrix is
might
a
be
more.
overstepping.
I think the Matrix is a more thought out film. Like it has more to say about like actual story, but like in terms of raw action, John Wick. Like if you just want action, John Wick is the better. It's just has better action.
All right, well, Sam, I guess we can move on to our final and biggest topic of the day, and that is
We got the
this past
Nintendo Switch 2.
Thursday. Nintendo, after being bothered by everyone on the internet for the past 4 years, decided to just randomly at like 7:30 in the morning just drop the reveal trailer for the Nintendo Switch 2, which is its official title.
And I believe when the trailer initially got posted, they were just like a special announcement from Nintendo.
Yeah.
It wasn't even titled Switch 2 trailer.
But Nintendo Switch 2, it looks like a bigger Nintendo Switch. All of the leaks were true. Every leak we've seen for the past year, all 100% true. There were zero surprises to any of this, including the soft reveal of a new Mario Kart game, which you see like 2 seconds of footage of in the trailer.
Yeah.
Sam, what did you have? Do you have strong thoughts, strong opinions on the Switch 2? People on the internet did. People on the internet had really dumb opinions on the Switch 2.
I'm excited for the Switch 2. I've only seen stuff that I think is a good idea so far. I like the new hardware. I think it looks cool. I think it looks more like mature, I guess, than the old hardware. I like the bigger buttons, the bigger sticks. I think that's good. I think the Switch Joy-Cons are a little small, so I'm glad we're sizing those up. I like how when you split it in half, you have bigger buttons. I like how you have both the shoulder buttons and trigger buttons, even though they're not.
Do you like that you
Ooh,
can
trigger
take the
shaped.
Joy-Cons off and use them as a mouse?
I am curious to see how that feature is implemented.
You know what? I saw
but I
someone
mean,
on Twitter
I don't
say
hate
this.
it.
I saw someone on Twitter say this. That being used for docked mode for Mario Maker is actually a really good idea, because that was one of my main things with Mario Maker 2 was that the level builder was just way worse, because that was like the one thing the Wii U did right was play Mario Maker, because the level builder you did on the gamepad. Doing that with a mouse with the Switch Joy-Con, if it works like pretty well, that could be a really, really good way to build levels in Mario Maker on the TV.
This is almost one of those gimmicks where there is so much potential. I am curious to see if it's able to live up to the potential that it has. Because, I mean, this is that from which all motion controls are derived. This is the way that you interface with technology since the 80s. Like, there is so much that you can do with a mouse. Like, first-person shooter games on the Switch, if they let you use the mouse, that's crazy. Games like Mario Maker, where you're moving little things around. I mean, this allows you to make new games where you have that degree of control that you would not be able to usually get out of a controller with sticks. I mean, this opens up the potential for so much cool stuff that I don't know if Nintendo's going to be able to live up. I mean, even things like organizing your Pokemon storage in the like if you could just click and move them around, that is so much better than like trying to navigate through all the different menus and select and move, and that all sucks. In any game with an inventory, that is so much better.
Nintendo Switch Minecraft
on the Switch too, where you have mouse inputs
and joystick.
Heck yeah. And you can use both of the buttons on the Joy-Con as like the right and left click. Like there's so many things you could do with this. Now how ergonomic this would be is, I think, could be a problem, but I could 100% see there being a third-party market open up for this if the ergonomics aren't great. I could totally see that coming into
sort of like attachment. So I'm not even for it.
Yeah, like a plastic thing that you clip
that
on.
Clicks on. I could see that happening. So it kind of gives it more of a mouse base.
If this is the Joy-Con right here, you clip on a big plastic chunk there and make it into more of a mouse shape. Like I could totally see something like that getting made.
Anything that third-party video game developer companies love, it's making crappy, cheap plastic hardware for the Switch to sell in Walmart. So that attachment will definitely get made. But in terms of just general about the Switch 2, so if the rumors are to be believed, it's probably going to be as powerful as an Xbox One or PS4, which honestly,
that's fine.
That's more than fine. Because if you
that is A-okay.
Because if you think about it, the Switch 1 came out like 5 years late to a console generation. Like the Switch 1 was the power of an Xbox 360 4 years into the Xbox One era. Like it was really behind. The Xbox Series...
And the games, in terms of the games you could play on an Xbox 360 compared to the Xbox One, there was a huge gap in performance. You could not run an Xbox One game on a 360. It just wouldn't happen.
There is
Xbox,
way less of a gap.
Game. There's like maybe one game and the Indiana Jones game is the only one that I can think of because it requires ray tracing. But basically every other game you could hypothetically run on either.
Like the PS5, I mean, people criticize it all the time because most of its library is on PS4. Like the PS4 and PS5, there's really not that much of a jump. So if the Switch is as powerful, the Switch 2 is as powerful as a PlayStation 4, I mean, it's going to be able to basically play most current gen games. Obviously at lower graphical resolutions and frame rates, but just being able to...
But that's fine.
I mean, if you can play like Spider-Man for Nintendo Switch 2, that is an incredible leap from the Switch 1 if you really think about it.
Even the Steam Deck is about on the same level as a PS4 or a PS4 Pro.
Sam, one of the few people in the world to own a Steam Deck. You're gonna show it off for the folks at home.
I have the it's here. There we go. There it is. But like it's able to run like Baldur's Gate 3. Now it's not running at 120 frames per second 4K. It's running at like 40 frames per second, like 800p. But like if the Switch has performance like around the same as that, you're good for another generation,
Yeah.
maybe generation and a half,
I
which
mean,
is about where I expect this
what
thing
we're
to
looking
land.
at is a console that could run, it could run Elden Ring, it could run Red Dead Redemption 2, it could run Grand
And
Theft Auto
further,
5.
if we're to believe the leaks that are most likely true, given how true all the other things have been so far, Red Dead Redemption 2 is supposed to be a launch title for the Switch 2,
Which I believe. I
which
think that's true. I think that
I could totally see that happening.
I do think
Even Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake are also supposed to
both of
come,
those could run on it. I mean,
and that would be Sony taking a PlayStation exclusive and taking that to the Switch, which could open up the door for all sorts of new ports and content that Nintendo fans would be able to access.
I mean, we've seen
Which would just be great.
Xbox put games on the Switch before. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, there's still.
could see a
I mean, the
console-
rumors of Xbox Game Pass coming to Switch have always been kicking around.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. Just because I think I think if Phil Spencer values that being like the Xbox's main selling point, but I do think.
Well, but they say that my phone is an Xbox and my laptop is an Xbox, so
true.
they don't. I don't think they even know what an Xbox is anymore. So maybe the Switch is an Xbox.
But
Who
I
knows?
do think like the Switch could get Bethesda games, which are owned by Xbox. It could get Bethesda support. It could get some PlayStation support, and then plus Nintendo support. This could kind of become the console that plays like a lot of games.
Yeah, the
from
one
all
console to
three of
rule
the
them
major
all, which
providers.
is absolutely crazy given Nintendo's position traditionally,
Like 10
which is that
years
they're
ago.
kind of on a little island by themselves. Now they're sort of the console that unites them all. And I think a lot of that is because the Switch doesn't really compete in the same way that the other consoles do.
No, it's
like a lot of the PS5 Xbox debate is around performance. What can this one do that this one can't? What is this, that kind of stuff. And the Switch has never cared about that, and it's primarily a portable console. It's more about like taking the games I like and then playing them portably. But like if you want that higher graphical fidelity, you don't care about the Switch anyway. Like that's not something you're caring about regardless. So like they don't really compete in the same way that like more traditional consoles and even like PCs compete.
Yeah. Another thing they announced was backwards compatibility between Nintendo Switch 1, Nintendo Switch 2. They said some games won't be backwards compatible. I'm not concerned about that. I think that's mostly going to be like cloud versions of games and then like Labo and Ring Fit, stuff that like required physical Switch 1 accessories that just like the
now,
Joy-Con
I could
won't
see
fit
them
into.
randomly throwing a couple of games in there that like seem to have no excuse. But that's just kind of how Nintendo works. Like there's always 3 or 4 games that just aren't, that they're just like, yeah,
you think
now
like,
they just don't work.
You think they'd be
why?
like first party? Like you're fully expecting like Zelda Breath of the Wild like to run on Switch 2.
Zelda should run, but I'm saying like I don't know,
Donkey
like
Kong Country Returns HD.
Arms for some reason just doesn't work. There's no real reason. It just doesn't work. Or like Splatoon 3, just doesn't work. I don't know why. It just doesn't. Like there's gonna be a couple games that just don't work.
1-2 Switch
for no reason.
1-2 Switch won't
1-2
be on
Switch
there because the Switch
because
it used the IR sensor and that's not.
I do think these ones do have IR sensors. Actually, I think they both do.
No, they took them out. There's no IR sensor on the new Joy-Cons.
Okay, I heard that both Joy-Cons now had an IR sensor, but maybe that was incorrect.
Well, they have the new sensor on the side for the mouse thing, but
not that one.
But the IR one on the bottom is gone. So any game that used that, which was just 1-2 Switch, won't run on the new Switch.
1-2 Switch and that like trumpet game, and then Labo.
I will say,
those are the only ones that used it.
I'm looking forward.
There's a couple others, but those are the only ones people know about.
I'm looking forward to Switch 2 cartridges with the little nub on the side.
We love the nub.
We love the nub.
Gotta have the nub.
Classic nub will make its return. I'm looking forward to that.
I could see them totally doing that. I mean, that's.
They're going to do that. They have to do that.
Yeah, because that makes it so that you don't.
That or the cartridges for the Switch 2 are just going to be bigger, and like it'll have to have like 2 sizes in the slot. Other than that, it's just the nub.
That seems too. That's what
I'm saying. It's going to be the
potential
nub.
Error. Yeah.
It's like you have to put the nub on it. I will say I am disappointed still by Nintendo's random, inexcusable insistence on digital triggers on their controllers. I don't know why they don't put analog triggers on them. It makes no sense to me. It seems like the easiest thing that they could do.
Do we know that they don't have analog triggers?
We see in the revealed video that they're still the same digital triggers, which is insane. I don't understand. They've been insistent on digital triggers since the Wii, just for no reason. I don't know why.
And they were the first ones to do analog
triggers. They had
triggers
an
as well,
analog trigger on the GameCube, and they even had games that required the analog trigger for like certain parts of the game to work. And every single time they've ported one of those games over.
It looks like there is an IR sensor on the Joy, or at least there's like a black plastic cutout on the bottom of the new Joy-Cons.
Okay, I had heard that there wasn't. Maybe they are bringing the IR sensor.
So
maybe this time they'll have a use for it.
If you go to the like 54 seconds, you can see the bottom of the Joy-Con, and there is some. I don't know if that could be something. That could be just a design choice, but that would be kind of weird. And it's in the same spot as the old one. Because I heard that both Joy-Cons now had them, but I mean, they might. I mean, it doesn't make a difference to me. They didn't do anything with it. And then I want to see if we can get a good look at the triggers and see if they're meatier.
I was expecting full backwards compatibility. My main thing with the new Switch are my old controllers gonna work?
Yeah,
on the
those
new
are
Switch?
definitely.
That's what I want to know.
Not analog triggers.
Because if I don't have to pay another $70 for a new Pro controller, I will happily use my old one for all of the Nintendo games. I don't want to have to buy a new one. They're probably going to make me buy a new one. I don't want to. It'd be nice if I didn't have to. I mean, the Wii U was backwards.
What if they just keep
Wiimotes.
selling the old one and they just call it the? They just call it the Nintendo Pro controller.
Maybe what they would probably do is basically put the same controller out and be like, it has updated HD Rumble, and then they'd sell it for $75, and it'd be basically the same controller, and there'd be no changes.
I could see them like doing like a premium, like almost like the Xbox type, like premium controllers where it's like metal and it's like fancy.
Nintendo don't do that.
I do notice the shoulder buttons and triggers, instead of going over like just the top and kind of curving,
Do you have a
they
Switch
go
controller?
all the way 90 degrees.
And I think that must be for the mouse feature thing.
Yeah, I do have the Switch here. So if we look here, now the Joy-Con ones do go pretty far. If we go to the camera there, they go probably maybe about 60 degrees there. Now the Switch 2 ones go all the way down, so it is a full corner piece. So yeah, that would seemingly continue to lead credence to the rumor that it is meant to be used that way as a mouse,
Which we saw them do in the real trailer.
We saw them sliding around on the table,
Yeah.
so that is probably what that means. I don't know why else they would do that, because why else would you do that?
And then other things we saw in the reveal trailer were new Mario Kart, which I think everyone expects to be a launch title.
With, I believe, 20.
Some
there were
people,
25 spaces in the little starting
I think
spot.
it was 24. 24 racers
Yeah.
in a single game of Mario Kart. So if the new feature for the new Mario Kart is just 24 racers now, that's kind of crazy.
Which would be a lot. Like, that is a lot happening.
I think what it will be, and we'll find out, the big thing at the end of this was there's going to be a dedicated Switch 2 Direct in April, which is 3 months away, covering the new system, which is the same timeline as the first Switch. So the first Switch was revealed in October of 2016. They did the full presentation in January, and then it launched in March. So if we're doing initial reveal in January, more information in April, that means like June, July launch date, which also lines up with the rumors. But I think the new Mario Kart, it'll be like normal default 12 racers, and then there'll be a 24 racer mode, kind of like how Smash Bros has normal 4-player Smash.
Yeah, and only like some tracks support.
You can go to
mode.
8-player Smash, because there's no way they're going to program, because there's going to have to be an insane amount of tracks to just match the total of 8 Deluxe. There's no way they're going to design that many tracks to.
They're not going to have the same amount of tracks, I don't think. Not initially, at least.
Well, not as many that support 24, because so many of them have been designed for just 12, and most of the time they reuse a lot of old tracks. You do all 24 racers, you're gonna have to design every track as a brand new track, which they're not gonna do.
Yeah.
So, but other than that, I am
I saw a
expect.
lot of people worried that the little Joy-Con connector is going to snap
I
off.
don't think that's going to happen.
That's stupid. That's a
How?
dumb
And
thing to
I
worry
mean,
about.
it's could, and I'm sure someone's going to get it to do that and complain
I'm
about
sure
it.
it will break, but
But
like you're gonna have to put a screwdriver in there and like twist it.
but
Like it's
also,
not gonna be a thing that just breaks off.
how often are your Joy-Cons disconnected from your Switch? Like, not really all that often. Like, maybe you put it in the dock and then take the Joy-Cons off and play with it, right? As like a controller. But even then, you're going to put them back on when you're done and they're just going to sit there. It's not like
Yeah, it's not like it's gonna be
you're not
sitting
going to
that
snap
way
your
all the
Joy-Cons
time.
off and carry your Switch around just by itself. Anytime you're
Unless
carrying
you're
your Switch, you have
playing
the
in
controllers on.
tabletop mode, you take the Joy-Cons off to do that. It gets knocked off the table and falls onto a rock that perfectly wedges between those two spots, and then somehow it lands with enough force to snap that thing off. Then maybe you'd have a concern, but
And
I
if
don't.
that happens, your Switch
I
is
don't see
probably
it being
cooked
an issue.
anyway, and you're just going to need to buy a new one.
Yeah, you're already so far past the point of no return. Now, I am a little disappointed that it does not have OLED. That is kind of lame.
But I think we fully expected that. As long as,
I did expect that, but it's still kind of lame.
honestly, that does leave it open for them to release an OLED version later down the line.
And the
which is fully in line.
bevels are just so big because we're back to the LCD screen, and so it just I don't like that.
As long as it's a higher resolution, I don't really care, personally.
That I will
And it's
assume
ar-
it is
and
probably
it's already a-
720p or
It's already a
1080p.
bigger system in general, so
Yeah.
I'm
So
not
you do
really-
need to bump up that resolution in order
Yeah.
to make it not look weird.
But the other thing is, rumors are priced at $400. I think that's exactly the right spot.
That's
for
a great price.
I will
Yeah,
like-
that's
And they're gonna keep selling the old Switch for like a year and a half while this is out. So
because they always do.
that would be the perfect
Switch
pricing model,
two-
right?
Wait, hang on. Let me. I'm gonna announce something early on. I got a letter from Nintendo just now.
Reggie
Guys,
sent you a letter.
the Switch 2 is not the six. It's not the. It's not going to replace the Switch. It is simply going to be in addition to the Switch family of systems. It
course.
is not replacing the Switch.
No, like
We would never do. Just like how the 3DS is
Didn't
still,
replace the DS.
has full support.
didn't
the
replace the
3DS
DS, Sam.
It's still technically our flagship
own thing.
handheld console.
Hey, that
we
thing
have
got
never
games.
replaced it.
That thing got games until like 2019, baby.
What was
that
the
thing
last
was
game? That
chugging.
like weird one with the hedgehog guy, the like armadillo guy.
Man, you can look that up. But anyway, yeah, I think $400 because then you get Switch 2 at $400, Switch OLED at $350, basic Switch at $300, and then Switch Lite at $250. So you have like the 4 different Switches all $50 apart. That's a pretty good pricing model. And then I do expect the online service to cost more. That's just a general side effect of where we're going. I expect a lot of the Switch 2 library to be reliant on remasters of Switch 1 games, running at a slightly higher frame rate and resolution. And then I expect launch titles to be Mario Kart 9,
Okay, so
Metroid
the last
Prime
title
4,
that came out
and
for the
then Red Dead 2.
3DS was Flying Axe in 2021.
2021. So,
Yeah.
Sam, if we put out a 3DS game, that
It's a
thing is still
game,
going. Have they shut down the
where
online store for that? Have they shut down the
shut down
eShop for the
trees.
3DS yet?
Yeah,
they-
it shut down
it did.
last year, I believe. Actually.
Okay, because I know the Wii U was shut down. And
Yeah, they shut them down the same month.
Okay. But yeah, Switch 2. I'm looking forward for more information on that. I'm definitely gonna buy it. Like I don't
Yeah,
have to
I'm excited for the
convince me
Switch
of
2.
anything. They don't have to convince me of it. I'm there.
We
I
were
gotta
always
play
gonna buy
Mario
it.
Kart. So
No, I mean it's set to have a pretty great launch. I mean, I still
Very-
haven't played Red Dead
real
Redemption
high
2, so
view
like the
count
Switch
on
2 would
that
be a great
trailer.
excuse to do that. Yeah, I mean I'm down for whatever Nintendo has going on.
did you see people complaining that it's not weird enough? That they wanted something more unique and weird.
No, that's a dumb take because it has a mouse built in. So there are, like I said before, the parasites are still alive and well in the brains of the Nintendo
See, I think
people.
I think the parasites might have been there so long it's starting to have good ideas.
Yeah, like the parasite is finally churning out some like normal, actually good idea. Like, I mean, even the Switch one,
Like putting a
didn't-
charging
with
port
the
on the top of
exception-
the Switch.
That's a great idea. Why weren't we doing that before? I don't know. But like even with the Switch 1, they didn't really have any terrible ideas. Like the IR thing was kind of useless.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't a bad idea. Like the Switch console, all of the like weird gimmicks that they had were good gimmicks. HD Rumble became an industry standard. Portable handheld consoles that can play console quality games became a whole market. Like the Switch had only good ideas.
Yeah.
And I think the mouse idea is a really cool idea that could be used in a lot of really cool ways. So I'm excited to see what they do with that.
Also, they can't go back. Like, they have to just keep making these hybrid consoles. They can't go back to splitting it in two because they combined all their internal gaming divisions.
So that is a question that I think will hold a lot more weight when this console generation is over. Because Nintendo,
just do
at least
Switch
to my
3?
knowledge, has never ever done a 3.
They did NES and Super NES. They did the Wii and the Wii U. They have never done.
Yeah, they have never. There's the N64 and the GameCube, which are kind of the same thing, but they have never done a 3.
Well, that's not true if you count the Game Boy, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance.
Okay, but the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color are hardware-wise, they're the same. It was just the color screen that changed.
But they counted the Game Boy Color as its own console.
Yeah, that's because they have the brain worms.
I mean, you could also count the DS, the 3DS, and the new 3DS.
With handhelds, it's not as clear, because the new 3DS does sort of count as a 3, because there was the DS, all of its subsidiaries, but they all were power-wise the same. Oh, I guess the DSi was more powerful, wasn't it? So, I guess there were 4 DSs. But regardless, Nintendo home consoles, they've never done a 3.
There's 5 DSs. There's the DS. There's the DSi. There was the 3DS. There's the 2DS, and then there was the new 3DS.
The 2DS and the 3DS were the same.
We're the same, but one was a big cheese
I'm only
wedge.
counting like a jump in performance.
Okay, then there was
as
4,
a new
because the 3DS.
Because otherwise, there's like 1,000. There's the DS, the DS Lite, the DS. There's so many of them.
There was the new 3DS, the new 3DS,
the new 3DS XL.
The new 2DS XL,
the new 2DS XL,
which was completely different than
really
any
stupid
other
there
DS
towards the
console.
end. Also, that released in 2019. That was so weird.
It was the same year as the Switch.
Same year as the Switch. Like, what was going on?
It was their kind of they were trying to be like budget 3DS. Because I remember in 2017 they were trying to get you to go and just like replay a lot of the old 3DS library. So that was like their guys. We put out a new cheaper 2DS. Go play all these old.
Everyone
3DS
can have
games.
all the things. Yeah, which is nice. That's cool. But anyway.
Anyway,
yeah,
we'll have more to say when they do the full reveal. But
right, I think Nintendo, out of any gaming company, would do something crazy like splitting up all their divisions again. I think they're actually the only company that would even attempt something like that.
I think they would only do that if something went wrong with this.
With the Switch 2?
If the Switch 2 failed dramatically, like a Wii U level failure, I think they'd do that. But But I don't think they would just do that unprompted, just because I feel that would be so expensive that it wouldn't be worth this would be funny of it all.
It's almost an issue of the Switch 2 being too powerful for them to go back. Because if you go back, like, okay, hypothetically speaking, say the Switch 2 bombs big time, 10 million unit mover, right? Worse than the Wii U, right? So bad. They go back to making traditional home consoles. They make like the Nintendo Game Box, and it's like it's literally just like a big super powerful Wii. It's just a big GameCube. Yeah, it's a game rectangle. They make the Nintendo game rectangle, right? Do they keep the Switch 2 around as their handheld? And if you do that, it's probably going to be powerful enough that you could port most of the game rectangle games to the Switch 2. So how do you distinguish them at that point? Or do you make a new handheld that's less powerful than the Switch 2? Like, can that exist? How do you do that? So, like, I don't know that this generation you could do that. I think if you were going to do that, you'd have to wait until the Switch 2 could become your handheld and then just start making a home console and like leave the Switch 2 to like float alongside it as a handheld on its own, kind of like a 3DS paired with the Wii U. But like, yeah, I don't see that being a thing, at least not for this in the foreseeable future.
Yeah, but that's all the Switch 2 I think we got for now, and that's all the news we have.
That's all we know. They changed Donkey Kong. He looks a little bit different now.
They all do, but Donkey Kong had the most noticeable change so far.
Yeah, because he looks like movie Donkey Kong now.
Which makes sense. I think Nintendo's going to be focused on brand synergy a lot these next 8 years, getting everything to line up. I think video game Link is going to look a lot like new live-action Link in a few years.
I don't want Tom Holland Link.
Sam, if they stay on the same track they're on, you're getting Tom Holland Link. I hope you know that.
I don't want it.
Zendaya Zelda.
Well, okay, no, they're not going to do that because that movie's going to be terrible.
Sam, Tom Holland famously does awful movies all the time.
I know, that movie's going to be terrible, so they're not going... Like, they can pivot to Mario movie brand synergy because the Mario movie did really well. So you can you can make those designs your main designs. You're like you can change the brand to that because it was popular. If the Zelda movie does bad, they're not going to do that because they're not going to want to change all their branding to match something that's going to do bad.
It's not going to do bad though. It's too big to fail.
It could do bad. It could absolutely do
unless
bad.
It's Borderlands. I think it's too big to fail.
No, because the original Mario movie failed, and Mario was arguably bigger then than he was when the Mario movie came out.
No. I think Zelda's.
Any video game movie can fail. Any movie can fail.
Any movie can fail, but I think Zelda might be. It's like Minecraft.
Zelda is
where it's got a floor that's super high.
No, only in the U.S. Like outside of the U.S., no one cares about Zelda.
That's true. Maybe I don't know.
And even in the U.S., way more people. Even in the U.S., most people still think that Link is Zelda. So like, I think it could absolutely fail if it isn't really good.
All right.
Anyway, I think that's all we have for today's news.
I'm very tired.
Do we have any? I don't think we have any reviews to talk about.
No.
Did we see anything recently? We saw.
I put out my Wolfman review on the main channel.
I saw you did a Wolfman, but we saw another movie. Oh, we saw the Bob Dylan movie, but we already talked about that. Yeah, I think that's basically it.
So we will see you guys next week for more news. Hopefully more things happen this week, so we're not talking about the Until Dawn trailer for 20 minutes. A game neither of us played.
Nope.
And I'm
not going to.
And never will.
All right.
Bye-bye.